I preferred anonymity. My wealth was vast, built over decades through astute investments and an almost uncanny foresight in real estate, but I found no joy in ostentation. I was a man in my late 60s, with a kind face marked by lines of quiet observation and a physique that spoke more of regular walks than gym memberships. That day, I wore a simple, worn tweed jacket, a plain shirt, and trousers that had seen better days. Comfortable, practical, and utterly unremarkable. I could have been any retiree out for an errand. I stepped into the grand lobby of the city's most prestigious skyscraper, a gleaming monument of glass and steel that pierced the sky. This building, a crown jewel in my extensive portfolio, was a hive of activity. Executives in bespoke suits walked with purpose. Women in high heels clicked across the polished marble floors, and the air hummed with the low murmur of ambition and commerce. I paused, taking it all in. I relished these unannounced visits, a chance to observe my empire from the ground up, to see how things truly functioned without the filters of reports and presentations. As I moved toward the elevator bank, my eyes scanned the digital directory. A young woman impeccably dressed in a sharp business suit spoke loudly into her phone, her voice echoing slightly in the vast space. I overheard her complaining that the new owner was supposed to be there for the quarterly review, and that she hoped they weren't as hands-on as the rumor suggested. She rolled her eyes, oblivious to my presence just a few feet away. As I approached the main reception desk, a security guard, a burly man with a no-nonsense expression, stepped forward. He asked if he could help me, suggesting deliveries were at the back entrance, clearly assessing my casual attire. I offered a small, polite smile, saying I was just observing for a moment, and gestured vaguely at the bustling lobby. The guard nodded slowly, his gaze lingering, clearly still unsure what to make of me. I moved to a quiet corner, settling onto a plush leather bench, blending into the background as much as one could in such a prominent space. I watched the parade of tenants, the slick lawyers, the tech entrepreneurs, the fashion magnates, all unaware that the unassuming man in the corner held the deed to their very offices. The morning wore on, and the lobby grew busier. I remained a silent observer. I noted the small details: a loose tile near the coffee shop, a flickering light on one of the elevator banks, the way the concierge handled a complaint. These were the things that mattered to me, the true indicators of a building's health, far more than glossy brochures. Suddenly, a group of 3 impeccably dressed individuals emerged from an executive elevator, their voices loud and confident. I recognized them as Mr. Sterling, a flamboyant real estate agent who occupied an entire floor, Ms. Davies, a sharp-tongued CEO of a high-powered marketing firm, and Mr. Chen, a stoic but equally arrogant investment banker from the top floor. They were heading towards the street, engrossed in their conversation. I heard Mr. Sterling declare that the new owners' meeting was a bore, and that he had heard they were incredibly private, almost reclusive, probably some old money type who didn't understand modern business. Ms. Davies scoffed, saying all she cared about was that the rent didn't go up, as her lease was almost due for renewal, and she needed to negotiate. Mr. Chen, without looking up from his phone, added that any increase would be problematic. As they passed me, now standing near the elevator call button, Mr. Chen lightly bumped my shoulder. He told me, without looking up, to watch where I was going, as some of them had important calls. I simply stepped aside, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on my lips. I pressed the button for the executive elevator, which was reserved for top-tier tenants and building management. Mr. Sterling, noticing my action, raised an eyebrow and asked if I was looking for the service elevator, saying that one was for the big fish. He chuckled, and Ms. Davies joined in with a dismissive wave, saying the freight elevators were around the back and I wouldn't want to hold up anyone important. I said nothing, my gaze calm. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside, pressing the button for the penthouse floor, where the building's main executive offices and boardroom were located. The trio watched me, a mix of confusion and annoyance on their faces. Mr. Sterling muttered, shaking his head, that some people had no clue. The doors closed, leaving me to ascend in silence, the scorn for my clothes echoing in the polished quiet of the cabin. The boardroom on the penthouse floor was a study in minimalist luxury. A long, gleaming mahogany table, ergonomic chairs, and panoramic city views. The air was thick with anticipation. Mr. Sterling, Ms. Davies, and Mr. Chen were already seated, along with other key tenants and the building's management staff, including Mr. Harrison, the building manager, a man of quiet efficiency who knew me well. All awaited the arrival of the elusive owner. I heard Ms. Davies impatiently tapping her pen on the table, asking Mr. Harrison when the owner would arrive, as the meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. sharp. Mr. Harrison, with a slight, almost imperceptible smile, informed her that the owner was already here. A ripple of confusion went through the room. Mr. Sterling frowned, saying they hadn't seen anyone come in. No entourage, no security. At that moment, the main boardroom door opened. I walked in, still in my unassuming tweed jacket and plain trousers. I moved with a quiet confidence that was utterly at odds with my casual attire. A few people exchanged puzzled glances, assuming I was part of the catering staff or a junior assistant. I heard Mr. Sterling lean over to Mr. Chen and ask if they had sent someone for coffee, finding it ridiculous. I walked directly to the head of the table where the main chair sat empty. Mr. Harrison, with a slight, respectful bow of his head, pulled out the chair for me. I took my seat, my gaze sweeping slowly across the stunned faces in the room. I picked up the meeting agenda, my movements calm and deliberate. A collective gasp swept through the room. Ms. Davies's pen clattered loudly onto the table. Mr. Sterling's jaw dropped. Mr. Chen's face, usually a mask of stoicism, registered pure disbelief. The man they had mocked, the old man they had dismissed in the lobby, was now taking the seat of power. I then spoke, my voice quiet, but carrying an unmistakable authority that filled the room. "Good morning, everyone," I said. "Thank you for attending this quarterly review. I am Arthur Vance, and I am the owner of this building." The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the frantic, nervous shuffling of papers as some attendees tried desperately to compose themselves. The faces of Mr. Sterling, Ms. Davies, and Mr. Chen were a tableau of shock, humiliation, and dawning horror. The meeting proceeded, and I conducted it with an understated competence that further disarmed the room. I spoke not of grand visions or abstract financial models, but of the building's operational efficiency, tenant satisfaction, and long-term maintenance. I cited specific figures about energy consumption, elevator service times, and even the loose tile in the lobby, details that only an owner who truly cared and observed would know. I noted a slight draft near the main entrance which suggested a seal issue, and that the digital display on the information kiosk near elevator bank B occasionally flickered. I asked Mr. Harrison to ensure these were addressed promptly. Mr. Sterling, Ms. Davies, and Mr. Chen, initially rigid with embarrassment, slowly began to shift in their seats, replaced by a newfound deference. Their earlier arrogance had completely evaporated, replaced by a desperate attempt to appear professional and respectful. When it came time for questions, they were among the first to speak, their tones noticeably subdued and apologetic. Mr. Sterling, his voice uncharacteristically meek, apologized for his earlier conduct in the lobby, saying there had been a profound misunderstanding and that my approach to business was clearly unique and incredibly insightful. I simply nodded, my expression unreadable, and commented that appearances could be deceiving and that it was a common human failing to judge a book by its cover. I did not dwell on the incident, nor did I seek revenge. My power was in my quiet authority, in the stark contrast between their assumptions and my reality. Ms. Davies, equally humbled, then raised the issue of her lease renewal. She told me she had hoped we could discuss the terms as she understood market dynamics were complex, but her firm was a long-standing tenant, and they valued their presence here. I looked directly at her, a faint, knowing glint in my eye, and said that I believed in fair and transparent dealings. I informed her that Mr. Harrison would be in touch to discuss her renewal, and that I trusted she would find the terms equitable. I added that we valued all our tenants, especially those who contributed positively to the building's community. After the meeting concluded, I remained for a few minutes, speaking privately with Mr. Harrison about the small maintenance issues I had noted and about the building's future. Finally, I prepared to leave. I walked through the lobby once more. This time, the security guard offered a respectful, almost deferential nod, his eyes widening slightly as I passed. The young woman who had been on her phone earlier, now fully aware of my identity, offered a shy, deferential smile and a polite, "Good day, Mr. Vance." Mr. Sterling, Ms. Davies, and Mr. Chen were still in the lobby, waiting for their cars. They spotted me approaching. Their faces flushed and they quickly straightened their postures, trying to appear composed. Ms. Davies stammered that it had been an enlightening meeting, and Mr. Sterling nodded vigorously, saying it had been a real eye-opener. I offered a small, knowing smile, a hint of amusement in my eyes. "Indeed, Ms. Davies, Mr. Sterling," I said. "I trust you'll find the terms of your future dealings fair." I paused, my eyes lingering on their humbled faces for a moment, letting the lesson sink in. It's always wise to remember that true value isn't always found in what meets the eye. Sometimes, the most important things are the ones you least expect. Then I stepped out onto the bustling city street, still in my unassuming clothes, but now with a quiet confidence that resonated through the grand lobby. The people inside, humbled and perhaps a little wiser, watched me go. I stepped onto the sidewalk, inhaling the fresh air. I looked back at the towering skyscraper, a monument to my quiet success. I smiled, a genuine, contented smile. The day had been a subtle reminder, not just for them, but for myself, of the enduring power of humility and true substance over superficial appearances. The lesson, I knew, was far more valuable than any rent check.